In this video, I'll show you how to build a full stack application with Next.js, but more importantly, how you can build an MCP server for that application and then connect it to various AI tools. We all know MCP is huge. All kinds of companies are coming out with MCP servers, and this is a relatively new thing. So a lot of people don't understand how to build these servers, but more importantly, how to build them correctly with proper authentication. So in this video, I'll show you how to set up a fully authenticated app. We're going to use Clerk to do that, which is probably the easiest way. And then we're going to authorize our MCP server as well with the same credentials for our application. Anyways, let me go over to the computer here. I'm going to explain to you what it is that we're going to build and show you a quick demo, and you'll get a better sense of what the purpose of this tutorial is and why you should follow along. So I'm on the computer now, and I'm going to dive into a quick demo. Now, first, I just want to note this is not a beginner tutorial. You should have some experience with TypeScript, React, and Next.js. While I will be explaining a lot of what I'm doing, I'm not going to go over core concepts like what a component is or how the type system works, etc. Anyways, you can see that we have a very simple application here. I'm signed in with Clerk, and because I'm signed in, I have a few bookmarks. Now, I just made this a very simple application because the point is to teach you about MCP, less so building out a really complex app. And anyways, if I want, I can add a bookmark, so I could put a URL, I could put a title, some notes, and the point is that while you're working with AI tools, a lot of times there's some documentation that you may want to save, a link to some site, and so we want to have kind of this bookmark manager where we could view it in our browser and we can use it like a normal web app, but then we could also connect it to our AI tools, which I'm going to show you in a second. Okay, so you can see here that I have my 3 bookmarks. Again, I'm signed into this account, and now what I'll do is I'll go over to Cursor. Now inside of Cursor, I have the project open, it's running, and what I'm going to do is just go to my MCP settings and show you that I'm connected to this MCP server. Now here we have 2 tools, get user bookmarks and create bookmark. And if I do something like what are my bookmarks, for example, it should call that tool and we should see the same bookmarks. So let's wait 1 second here. Okay, and you can see that we have the 3 bookmarks, which are the same as the ones that I had here. Now, just to do the same thing, I'm going to say, can you add a bookmark for the React docs, for example? And then what it should be able to do is actually create a new bookmark for us. So it's going to call that MCP tool. Okay, so it said it added a new bookmark. And now if I come here and I refresh, we'll see that we get a new bookmark popping up in our bookmark manager. Now, the interesting part is that this is fully authenticated, which means that if I go back to my MCP settings here, so for example, if I maybe turn this off, let's go to edit and let's just delete this and let's maybe add a new one and just call this, MCP server. Now you're going to see that it's loading tools and it says it needs to log in. So what will happen is I'll press this button. It's going to open up a website for me, which is going to prompt me to actually log into this service or to this application. So I'll go through the login flow, press allow. Okay, and then when I open Cursor back up here, let's wait a second, we should see that we get the login. Okay, and it says it wants to open this URL. Okay, we'll press open. You'll see all of the logs are running here, and then all of a sudden we connect to our tools and we get our users' data. So I'll explain how this works in much more depth later on, but the point is we built an application, right? Our bookmark manager, it works as a normal web application. But then we created an MCP server so that we can share this data and kind of operations with an AI tool. So now you can just sign into this MCP server anywhere you use AI or any AI tool you have, like Claude Desktop, Cursor, whatever, doesn't matter. And we can start saving, working with bookmarks, and then we can add this MCP server in multiple places. And most importantly, it's authenticated to our account. So we're gaining access just to our data, and then other users can sign in with their accounts and just get access to their data. It's the same thing as signing in with like a GitHub MCP server or something along those lines, but it's super smooth, and we do that with a proper OAuth flow, which I'm going to explain in this video. Anyways, I hope that demo makes a little bit of sense. Again, it will make more sense as we keep going. Now, let me hop over to the code editor and let's get started. All right, so I just opened up Cursor here, which is the IDE that I'm going to be using for this video. Now, I would recommend that you use the same, but you just need to use something where you'll be able to actually test an MCP server. So you need some type of MCP host. Now, I've just made a new folder here called Bookmark Manager. And before I start diving into all of the setup steps, I quickly want to explain to you the overall architecture and what it is that we're actually going to be doing in this video. So first things first, I'm going to assume that you have some experience with MCP. If you don't know anything about MCP, then I'm going to put a video on screen which will be helpful context to understand before we go forward. Okay, now on screen here, I just have a few diagrams that I'm going to go through, and I'm going to explain how MCP works with authentication, because that's a part that most people miss. So first, let's understand some of the core concepts. Now we have an MCP host. This is essentially an AI application. It's something like Cursor or Claude Desktop. Now within inside of the MCP host, there's multiple MCP clients. Now each one of these clients will have some kind of connection to an MCP server. The point is you have a host, which is an entire application. In that host, there can be multiple MCP clients that are connecting to different types of applications, and those clients really are just communicating with an MCP server. So in our case, we're just going to have a single MCP server, but this means that we can just plug this into any type of AI application and start managing our bookmarks. Okay, so that's the basics on MCP. Now I want to go to authorization, which is what we're going to be doing in this video. Now, fortunately, this isn't going to be as complex as it looks because we're going to be using Clerk to do this. By the way, massive shout out to Clerk for sponsoring this video and being a long-term partner of the channel, but they're free. You don't need to pay for them, and they just make it really easy to do auth. I've been using them long before they sponsored the channel. Anyways, we have a client, okay? The client is our MCP client, which runs inside of the MCP host. Now, what's going to happen is this client, once it connects to the MCP server, is it's going to send a request, and it's not going to have any authorization token. Now, the MCP server is going to say, hey, you're not authenticated. I don't know who you are. And it's going to send a request back that essentially tells the client, hey, you need to authenticate. You need to sign in order to use this server. Then what's going to happen is the client is going to look in this response to see how to authenticate. It's then going to send a request to this endpoint, which is expected to live on the MCP server. It's .wellknown/OAuth protected resource. So we're going to write that later. I'll show you how that works. Now this is going to return a URL that indicates what server we need to go to in order to authenticate, because we need to open up some kind of URL essentially like in our browser so that the user can sign in and they can get the token. So essentially in these steps right here, what's going to happen is the client will open up this authorization server URL. Then the client, or us, in this case, the user, will sign in. We will then get all of the metadata related to the authorization. Okay, we're then going to send a request to get a token. We're going to receive the access token back. And then once we have the access token, we are authenticated, essentially. The client will store that access token and continue to use that to communicate with the MCP server. So now, after this whole flow, the client has a token. This is its like grants, essentially, right? It's rights to use the MCP server. And in every request, it sends that token. That then allows the MCP server to identify who we are and to allow us to perform the operations that we need to. That's the flow. I'm going to show you how to build it. Again, it looks complicated, but it's really not that difficult with the tools that we're going to use. And with that said, let's go back over here to the code editor and start working on our Next.js application. Okay, so let's open up our terminal here, and we're going to start writing a few commands just to initialize the application, and there's a few packages that we need to install. So we're going to type npx. This means you need to have Node.js installed for this to work, and we're going to type create next-app at latest, okay? And then we're going to put a dot because we want to do this in the current directory, which is the bookmark manager. I'm going to go yes. Would we like to use ESLint? Yes. Would we like to use Tailwind? No. Do you want to use the source directory? Yes. Do you want to use app router? Yes. Do you want to use TurboPack? Yes. Do you want to use the import alias? No. And then there we go. It went ahead and created this for us. Okay, so it's going to take a second. It's installing the dependencies that we need. And then after this, we're going to install a bunch of other dependencies as well in order to be able to use these packages that I was discussing, like Clerk and then the MCP server, all of that kind of stuff. Okay, so while that happens, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Clerk website. Now, if you haven't heard of Clerk before, this is just pretty much the best way to handle authentication and user management for your applications. It has a ton of different features, but it makes it extremely simple to build auth into your app, and then in our case, also to connect to an MCP server. Works for all types of applications, not just Next.js apps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Clerk. I'm going to make a new account if I don't already have one. In this case, I do. I'll leave a link to Clerk in the description, by the way, and I'm going to go to my dashboard. Okay, now from here, I'm going to make a new application. So again, you're going to have to follow along with this. Let's make a new app. I'm going to call this my bookmark manager. Okay, and I think we can do a space. Yeah, that's fine. And then we can enable all of these different authentication providers. So you can see that if you want to work with Google or GitHub or whatever, you literally just check this, and then all of a sudden your app will work with all of these other providers. Now, sometimes there's a little bit of setup you need to do, but it's very, very straightforward. You can sign in with Slack. You can sign in with Bitbucket, HubSpot, Coinbase. So you have all of these different providers at once. In my case, I'm just going to go with email, but of course you can enable as many of these as you want. Okay, so I'm going to create the application here. So let's continue, and then it's going to give me setup steps for all of the different types of applications that I could be using. And you can see there's a bunch of other ones here. In our case, we're using Next.js. So what we're going to do is just follow some of these setup steps here, get the basic setup done for Clerk, and then we'll set up the rest of our packages. Okay, so let's actually move this over to the right side of our screen. Okay, so I just set up my windows here. We're going to go over to Next.js. We're going to copy this install command. We're going to paste that in our terminal. I know you can't really see it, but it's just npm install @clerk/nextjs. While that's happening, we're going to make a new env file. So we're going to make a file called .env in our root directory. We're going to copy this and paste it here. Obviously, you don't want to leak these values because these are your keys for Clerk. So go ahead and save that env file. We're going to create a middleware file. This is going to go in our src folder. So we're going to go src. Then we're going to make a new file. We're going to call this middleware.ts. Okay, we're going to copy this file and just paste it inside of here, and make sure it's like this, so it's outside of the app directory but inside of the src directory. And then it's going to show us here how we can set up either our app router or how we can set up our pages router depending on what we're using here with the Clerk components. Now I'm going to write these manually actually because our pages are going to look a little bit different, but you can see that we have a Clerk provider. We can use a simple component to see if we're signed out or if we're signed in. And then if we go here to the app router, we can see that we have components for like the sign in button, the sign up button, right? And then this will show the kind of sign in pages or sign up pages depending on what you click on. You'll see it's very, very straightforward, but that's literally all that we need to set up Clerk. Now what we're going to do is go back into our code editor, and we're going to start setting up the rest of the stuff we need for the various other packages. So we're going to type npm install, and then this is going to be @clerk/mcp-tools. We're going to do @vercel, and then this is going to be /mcp-adapter, and then @prisma/clients. We're going to use Prisma for the database, and then the other two are obviously for handling the MCP. Okay, so let's go ahead and press enter here and install this. Now I also want to note that there obviously is a lot of code here. There's a lot of setup. If you're getting lost at all, I will have all of the code linked in the description so that you can simply copy different components. And for example, for all of the styles for this project, I'm just going to have you guys copy them in rather than manually writing all of the CSS because I really don't think there's too much value in that. Okay, so that's almost it. After that, we're going to type npm install -d and then Prisma. Now this is going to install Prisma as a developer dependency, which we need. And then we're going to start setting up all of our backend related logic. So the API endpoints, the database, the types, some utility files. Then we can start building the UI. Okay, so let's start by typing npx Prisma init. If you've never used Prisma before, it's a very simple database that we can use. It works really well with Next.js. So that's what I'm setting up. And in this case, it's just going to be using SQLite behind the scenes. So we're going to type npx Prisma init to initialize a new database in this project. It should create a new folder for us called Prisma, and then we can start setting up the different kind of database schemas, which you'll see in a second. All right, so now you should see a new Prisma folder. It has schema.prisma inside of it. We're going to change this slightly, and we're going to add the schema in just one second, but there's a few other steps that we need. So from inside of this file, what we're going to do is we're just going to write essentially the model that we want to have in our Prisma database. We're just going to have one thing that we're saving, which is simply a bookmark. So it's very straightforward. So we're going to write model bookmark. And then what we're going to do is specify all of the fields that we want to have in this model or in this database model. So I'm going to say ID. This is going to be of type string. And then we're going to say @ID and then @default. Okay, and then CUID, which just means it's going to automatically generate a new ID for us and that this acts as the primary key for this model. We're also going to have a URL, which is of type string. We're going to have a title, which is of type string. We're going to have notes. This is going to be string ? Because we may or may not have a note. And sorry, I don't need the colon here. Okay, what else are we going to have? We're going to have a created at date. This is going to be a date time field, and this is going to be at default. And then what we're going to do is use the now function. So if we don't pass anything by default, it's just now. We're going to say updated at, and this is going to be date time. Same thing, we're going to say at, and this is going to be updated at, which just means automatically update it whenever it was updated, like put the time there. And then we're going to say user ID string, and this is going to be for the Clerk reference. So essentially we have an ID for the bookmark, and then we need to store which Clerk user actually owns this bookmark so that we know. So that's literally all that we need for this file. We're just specifying a really simple model that we want to have inside of our database, again, using Prisma to do that. Okay, so now we're going to close that, and inside of our environment variable file, we're going to make another variable. Now here it's giving us this database URL, but I don't actually want to use this. I want to make it a little bit simpler than that. So I'm going to change this to say file, and then I'm going to say colon dot and then slash dev.db. So this is just for development, but I'm just making it so that we're just going to reference a local file rather than running kind of the Prisma server, which is what it's telling us to do right here. Okay, so now that we've done that, what we're going to do is we're going to generate the change to our Prisma database. So we're going to say the following npx Prisma and then generate. What this is going to do is read the schema and then apply that to our database. So let's go ahead and run that. And we can see here that it says it generated the Prisma client, and we are good. Okay, next thing, we're going to type npx Prisma and then migrate and then dev -- name and then init. What this is going to do is initialize the database for us. So let's run that command. And we got a quick error because I forgot to change something inside of our schema file. So inside of our schema file here, rather than having Postgres SQL, we're going to change this to be SQLite because we're going to reference a local database file. And I think that should be okay now. So let's change this and run this again. And there we go. Now we're good and it's actually using the file. You can see we have this dev.db file showing up here rather than trying to connect to a remote PostgreSQL database. Okay, so that's pretty much it. By the way, if you wanted to see your database, you could type npx Prisma and then studio. If you do that, it should load this in your browser, and then you're able to navigate and kind of see all of the data inside of the database. Anyways, that's literally it. We've just set up the database. Again, we specified the model, we changed this to SQLite, and then we ran a few commands just to initialize everything. Okay, let's close all of that right now. Let's go back into SRC and let's start working on our backend. All right, so from our SRC folder here, we're going to make a few new folders. We're going to make one called components. That's going to be for our React or Next.js components. We're going to have one for hooks, again, for the hooks that we need. We're going to have one for lib, and we're going to have one for types. Okay. Now we're going to start inside of types, and inside of types, we're just going to make a new file called bookmark.ts. Now, again, I'm just writing all of the backend logic, so essentially the database operations here. You'll see how they work when I write kind of some helper functions and the types, and then we connect it up eventually to the backend API, which we'll have in a second. So for now, we're going to say export interface bookmark, and we're just making a kind of friendly type that we can use in our user interface. So we're going to say ID string. We're going to say URL string. We're going to say title string. We're going to say notes. Okay, let's spell notes correctly. This is a string as well. And then we are going to have created at. This is going to be a date. And we're going to have updated at. And this is going to be a date as well. We're then going to have another interface. We're going to say export interface. And this is going to be create bookmark and then data like that. This is going to be what we need to accept to make a new bookmark. To do that, we're going to take a URL, a title. Okay, let's call the title correctly, and some notes, which is a string. Okay, cool. So now we have the two types that we need. Pretty easy. Now we're going to go into lib, and we're going to make a new file, and we're going to call this bookmark, and this is going to be -utils.ts because we're going to use the functions that we put in here multiple times. So first, I'm going to say import. Let's spell import correctly, and we're going to import the Prisma client from @prisma/client so we can connect to our database. We're also going to import the create bookmark data from @types/bookmark. Okay, now we are going to say const Prisma equals new Prisma client. Okay, this should automatically connect to our database for us. And then we're going to start writing the functions that we need to interact with our data. Okay, so we're going to start by saying export async function. We're going to say get user bookmarks. And what this is going to do is it's going to look up in our database all of the bookmarks associated with a particular user based on their user ID, which is going to come from Clerk, which we'll set up later. Okay, so we're going to say get user bookmarks. And then what this is going to do is it's going to return a promise. Okay, and there's going to be a specific type here, but for now, I'm just going to put any. And then later, we will actually put the correct type here. I just need to get it, which is going to take a second. Okay, now we're going to do a try except block. We're going to say try const bookmarks is equal to await prisma.bookmark.find many. You can see it's actually giving me pretty much the full autocomplete. So let's just tab into that. We're going to say where the user ID, so user ID like that, and then I'm going to add one more field. I'm going to say order by, and we're going to order by created at, and then descending, so we get the most recent ones first. Then we're going to return bookmarks. Otherwise, we're going to log the error, and then we're actually going to throw it again so that we can pick it up, wherever this is called. So I'm going to say throw new error, failed to fetch bookmarks. Okay, so that is the entire first function. Again, we'll fix the typing later on. Okay, next function. We're going to say export async function, and then we need to create a user bookmark. So I'm just writing, again, all of the database operations here. So we're going to say user ID is string, and we're going to say the data is the create bookmark data. Again, promise any. We'll fix that later on. Okay, let's go inside of our function. Here, we're going to have another try block. Inside of the try block, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say if we do not have a URL or we do not have a title, then what we need to do is throw a new error and say URL and title are required. Okay, then we're going to say const bookmark is equal to await prisma.bookmark.create. Same thing inside of here. We're now going to specify all of the data for our bookmarks. So we're going to say data. I'm going to say URL is data.url. We're going to say title is data.title. We're going to say notes is the data.notes or an empty string in case there's no notes there. And then we're going to specify the user ID. Okay, and the user ID is the same as this. Perfect. Then down here, we're going to say return bookmark like that. And we're going to write the catch statement. So we're going to say catch error. We're going to console.log the error. So we're going to say error creating bookmark. And then same thing, we will throw that new error, say failed to create bookmark. All right, now we are almost done. We're going to write one more function, which is going to let us delete a bookmark, So I'm going to say export async function delete user bookmark. In order to delete a user bookmark, we need the user ID. And we're also going to need the bookmark ID. So let's go bookmark ID. This is going to be a string as well. Okay, this time the return is actually going to be a promise of Boolean, essentially indicating whether or not this operation was successful. So again, we're going to go in here, we're going to say try, and we're going to start by saying const bookmark is equal to await, and then this is going to be prisma.bookmark.find, and this is going to be first. Now we're going to find the first instance where the ID is bookmark ID. Okay, and the user ID is the user ID, and we got to spell the bookmark ID correctly, so let's fix that here. Okay, we're then going to say if not bookmark. So if for some reason we didn't find this, then we're going to throw new error and say bookmark not found or access denied. And then what we're going to do down here is we're going to say await, and this is going to be prisma.bookmark.delete. We got to spell bookmark correctly. And where we're going to delete is the following. We are going to say inside of here where, and then ID is the bookmark ID. Okay, then we can return true, indicating this was successful. Then we're going to have a catch. We're going to catch the error. Same thing, we're going to say error deleting bookmark, and then throw new error, failed to delete bookmark. Okay, so that is our delete user bookmark, our create user bookmark, and our get user bookmarks. And now we can fix the typing. So actually, to fix the typing, I need to make a change. So sorry, rather than importing the Prisma client from Prisma client, we're actually going to import it from the following, which is ../generated/Prisma, which is the code that's generated automatically for us here in this file. And then we can also just import the bookmark type directly from there rather than having to define it. So now I'm going to say bookmark, and I'm going to make this a list because that's what's going to be returned from get user bookmarks. And from here, create user bookmark, we can just return the bookmark as well, like that. Okay, now you might be wondering, why do we still have this type here? It's because we need to have another type that doesn't include the user ID when we're actually showing this on the front end or when we're creating a new bookmark, whereas here inside of the database operations, it looks a little bit different, right? It's kind of bookmark with user ID. Anyways, there might be a way to optimize this, but for now it's fine, and we're just importing that type directly from here from Prisma. Okay, cool. So now we have the backend functions written. We have our type. And what do we need to do next? Well, we need to actually write the backend API route. So inside of the app folder, we're going to make a new folder called API. Now, if you're not familiar with Next.js, essentially you could have a full front end and back end in one code base. In our case, we're going to have an API endpoint here that allows you to either delete a book or create a book or get the books for a particular user. So those functions we wrote we'll use from this endpoint. So inside of API, I'm going to make a new folder called bookmarks. Okay, now the way that this works is that essentially if you go to our website URL /API/bookmarks, you'll then be routed into whatever file is here, which is going to be route.ts. I'll explain it in a little bit more depth in a second. But essentially by doing this, now any request that's sent to /API/bookmarks will be forwarded kind of to this file where we can write the different endpoints like get, post, put, etc. Now I'm also going to make another new folder. This is going to be in square brackets ID. Now what that means is that essentially we're going to handle a dynamic route. So a dynamic route being some bookmark / some ID. And again, when we go into this folder, we're going to go inside of this route.ts file. Okay, so let's start from the first file that we created that's kind of in the bookmarks directory directly. And inside of here, we're going to do the following. We're going to say import next request. We're going to import the next response. Okay, and then this is going to be from next/server. We then are going to say import, and we're going to import auth from at Clerk /NextJS/server. And then we're going to say import, and we're going to import the get user bookmarks as well as the create user bookmarks from this lib/bookmark utils. Okay, so the file that we just wrote. Now we're just going to have two endpoints here, one for getting, one for posting. So if you send a get request to /API/bookmarks, we're going to go into this endpoint right here, which is going to allow us to, retrieve all of the bookmarks for a user. So I'm going to say export async function get. We're going to create the function body, and we're going to do a try catch block. So we're going to say try const user ID is equal to auth. This is automatically going to pick up the authenticated user from Clerk. We also need to await this just to make sure that we get this correctly. What is going on with my autocomplete? Okay, there we go. So again, this is like how easy it is to use Clerk. We literally just call this function, and it's going to give us the authenticated user if it exists. We're going to say if not user ID. So if someone is not authenticated, then we're going to say return next response, and then .json, and we're going to say error, unauthorized, and the status is going to be 401. Then we're going to say const bookmarks is equal to await get user bookmarks with the user ID. And then we're going to return the next response. Same thing, .json. We're just going to return bookmarks with status code 200. Okay, now we need a catch. So we're going to say catch error. And what we're going to do is we're going to say console.error, error fetching bookmarks. We'll just print out whatever that error is. And then we're going to return a next response.json. Here's the error. Now for the error, rather than internal server error, we're going to say failed to fetch bookmarks. And the status code can be 500. Okay, So that is the GET request. Again, whenever we hit /API/bookmarks and we send a GET request, it will automatically be routed to this function, which is how Next.js handles it. Next, I'm going to say export async function post. And then for post, I'm going to say request is equal to next request because I need to get the data that is sent along with this post request. Similar to before, I'm going to kind of copy this actually and paste it inside, and I'm going to start modifying a few things. So I'll remove the getting bookmarks and returning because we don't need that. However, we are going to authorize the user. So we're going to get the user ID, and if that doesn't exist, then we're going to say, okay, it's unauthorized. But now the way we're going to change this is we're going to say const body is equal to await request.json. Then we're going to say const, and we're going to strip out the properties. So we're going to say URL title notes is equal to body. Then we're going to say if not URL or not title, then we are going to return a next response.json. Okay, and we're going to have an error. For the error, we're going to say URL and title are required, and the status is going to be 400. Okay, now otherwise, oops, I guess that's actually exactly what we wanted to do. I didn't even mean to hit tab there, but we're going to say const bookmark is equal to await create user bookmark, the function that we wrote before. We're going to pass our user ID as well as our bookmark data, so URL, title, and notes. And then we're going to return the next response where we're going to return the bookmark and say that this was status 201, indicating that it was successful. Now for the error here, we're just going to say error creating bookmark. Okay, and make it not plural. And then we're going to say failed to create bookmark like that. Same thing with status code 500. Okay, so that's it for this API. Now we've written this endpoint so we can actually send a request to here or to here, again, a post request or a GET request. Now let's go into this one here and wrap up our backend by simply writing a delete request for an individual bookmark. So we're going to say import, and actually we can just copy it from here. So let's copy that. And rather than having the create user bookmarks and get user bookmarks, we'll bring in the delete user bookmark. Okay, we're then going to say export async function delete. Okay, we're going to say request is the next request. Okay, and then we're going to take in the params. So the params are going to be relative to this, the ID here. So the, what do you call it, kind of path parameter for this. And then this is going to say params and then ID string. So that's going to be our type here for the delete method. We're going to create the function body. We're going to say try. Same thing, we're going to make sure the user is authenticated. So we're going to say const user ID is equal to await auth. Okay, we're going to say if not user ID, then we need to return the next response.json saying they're unauthorized with status code 401. Otherwise, we're going to get the ID. So we're going to say const ID is equal to params. Then we're going to say await delete user bookmark, and we're going to pass in the user ID as well as the ID of the bookmark. And then again, the autocomplete is really good. So let's just hit tab. We can say return next response.json bookmark deleted successfully, status 200. Otherwise, we have an error message, error deleting bookmark. This is the error. And then return next response.json. This is the error again, status 500. Okay, so that is pretty much it. That's going to handle the backend API endpoints, at least the ones for the standard application. We will need to write some more when we handle the MCP server, but for now we have kind of the functionality so that we could actually call this from the front end and we can delete, we can create, etc. Now, just as a sanity check to make sure that everything is working, I'm just going to make a new terminal here, and I'm going to type npm run dev. This is just going to run the server for us, so let's run this here and give it a second. And we should see that everything is compiled and ready to go. And then if we wanted to, we could just come here. We could do something like localhost port 3000. And we should see our application loading in a second. So it's compiling, takes a second. And then you see we have the Next.js app. Now, if we go to something like /API/bookmarks, for example, you can see that it just tells us we're unauthorized because we called that API endpoint and we don't have anything to pass to it. And if I go bookmarks/1 or something, same thing, well, in this case, it gave us an error actually saying 405. And actually it makes sense that we're not getting anything here because we don't have a get endpoint written. We just have a delete endpoint. So 4 of 5, I believe, is actually just saying that this isn't found or there's some error or something because, well, we didn't hit an endpoint that is valid. Anyways, point is this is working. So we can shut this down for now with Control-C. And now we can move on and we can start coding out parts of the front end and actually calling some of this backend. Now, again, we will get to the MCP server component, but it makes sense to build out the whole app first because typically you wouldn't have an MCP server unless you have an app. All right, so first things first, I'm going to go to my source folder. And for global.css as well as page.module.css, I'm going to bring in a bunch of CSS that I'll have linked in the description in the GitHub repository that you see there. So essentially, I just don't want to write all of this CSS because it's going to take a really long time. So I'm just going to copy all of it in right now. So from page.module.css, I'm going to paste in this. Pretty straightforward. It's actually less than was there before. And all of this, again, you can find from the link in the description. You can just navigate in the GitHub directory, find the CSS file, and just copy it. Now, same thing for globals. I'm going to copy in all of this. You can see there's a bunch of styling, and then we'll use these classes as we create the various components inside of our files. Okay. Now we need to start navigating or modifying the layout file as well as the page.tsx file. So for the layout file, it's actually going to be easier here, I think, if we delete most of this. So let's delete all of this. Let's leave the import for global. Let's get rid of these imports up here. And let's import what we need from Clerk. So we're going to import the Clerk provider. We're going to import the sign in button, the sign up button, sign up button. We're going to import the signed in, the signed out, and the user button. And this is going to be from, and then this is at clerk/Next.js. Okay, so that's all we need for the imports. Then what we're going to do is render the HTML, render the body. Okay, that's fine. We're going to remove the class name here because we don't need that. And we're going to start creating a few different components. All right, so let's remove this. Okay, so we're going to start with a header. In the header, we're going to say this is class name equal to header. Then what we're going to do is create a div. Okay, inside of the div, we're going to have an h1 tag. We're going to have the style, which is equal to, and there's a little bit of inline styling for this. So we're going to say font size 24px. We're going to say font weight bold, and then I'm going to call this the bookmark manager. Okay, that's it for that div. Then we're going to have another div. This div is going to have style. Again, just a little bit of inline styles here. We're going to have display flex. We're going to have gap 15px. We're going to have align content. And then this is going to be center. And then inside of this div, we're going to have the sign in and signed out button. So we're going to say if you are signed out, then what we want to display is the sign in button. Okay, and for the sign in button, we want to have a button. Okay, we're going to say class name is equal to btn-primary. And we're going to call this sign in. Now we're also going to have the same thing, and this is just going to be the sign up button. So we're going to say sign up, and sign up. So if you are signed out, we're going to show you to sign in or sign up. Then inside of the same div, we're going to have if you are signed in, we are going to show you a button. We're going to say user button like that. Okay. So the way that this works is if you are signed out, we're going to show you these. If you're signed in, we're going to show you the user button. The user button is like the user's profile, so they can log out or they can modify the profile. We can adjust what that looks like inside of Clerk. Now we're going to go main, class name, and this is going to be main. And then inside of main, we're just going to render all of the children for this layout component. Okay, and then we need to actually wrap this whole thing, in the Clerk provider, which I forgot. So we're going to say Clerk provider. Okay, like that, and let's remove this, and then take this ending tag and paste it here and fix the spelling. So now the whole HTML tag is inside of the Clerk provider, and then I'm just going to do a format here so that everything is a little bit nicer to read, and you can see we have everything we need for layout.tsx. Okay, Now let's go over to page.tsx and start modifying this, because this is where we're actually going to write some logic and have a few different components. And actually, before I do that, I think we're going to write one of the hooks that we need for our bookmarks, because that's going to make more sense because we're going to need to use it in the component. So let's go to the hooks directory. Let's make a new file and let's call this use bookmark or bookmarks.ts. Okay, so this is going to be some reusable logic. Now for this hook, we're going to say use client because it is a client side hook. We're going to say import use effect and use state from React. Okay, and then we're going to say import bookmark. Okay, and this is going to be create bookmark data from add types / bookmark. We're going to say export function use bookmarks. And then inside of here, we're going to write some reusable functions that essentially get all of the bookmarks for a user, store that in state, and then allow us to add and delete the bookmark. So we're going to say const bookmarks set bookmarks is equal to use state. And then this is going to be bookmark like that. And we'll start with an empty list by default. We're then going to say const loading set loading equals use state. By default, that's going to be true because it's going to be loading as soon as the app renders. Then we're going to say const error and then set error is equal to use state. And this is going to be string or null. And then by default, for now, this is going to be null. Okay, and I need to make sure this type is correct, like that, and that null goes inside of here. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to start writing all of the different functions that we need. So we're going to say const fetch bookmarks is equal to an async function like that. Then we're going to write a use effect hook. So, oops, I don't want this twice. I want use effect. And in use effect, what we're going to do is we're going to have an empty dependency array. And we're just going to say fetch bookmarks. Okay, so what's going to happen is as soon as this hook loads, we're just going to fetch the bookmarks. And then we're going to call this function, which will get the bookmarks for us. Now, to get the bookmarks, we're going to have a try. We're going to say set error and then null. So when we start doing this, we'll say, okay, let's clear any error. We're going to say const response is equal to await fetch, and we're going to fetch /API /bookmarks, which should give us all of the bookmarks for this user. We're going to say if not response.ok. So for some reason there is some error, then we're going to say throw new error, and we're going to say failed to fetch bookmarks like that. Okay, then we're going to say const data is equal to await the response.json from our API call. And we're going to say set bookmarks, and we're going to set the bookmarks equal to whatever data was returned. Otherwise, we're going to have a catch. So we're going to catch ERR, and we're going to say set error. And then what we're going to do is say the following error fetching bookmarks, and then we're going to put the error like that. And then we're going to say err.message there for setting the error. However, I need to do the following so we don't get this type issue. I'm going to say error is instance of error ? Then we can show the error message. Otherwise, we can show an error occurred because for some case or sometimes this may not actually be type error. It might be a different exception that we're catching. And then we can have a finally, we can say set loading equal to false. Okay, so this is how we fetch the bookmarks. Now we need two other functions, one for adding the bookmarks and one for deleting the bookmarks. So we're going to say const, and this is going to say add bookmark. Okay, this is going to be an async function. We're going to take in data, which is the create bookmark data. Okay, then what we're going to do inside of here is similar to what we had before. We're going to have a try. Okay, we're going to have an accept. Or actually not an accept, that's Python. We're going to have a catch of the error like that. Now in the try, we're going to say set error equal to null. We're going to say const response is equal to await fetch, and then /API /bookmarks. And then we're going to put the type of the request. So we're going to say method is post. We're then going to say headers, and this is going to be content dash type application JSON, and then we're going to pass the body, which is JSON.stringify, and then data. We're going to say if not the response okay, we're going to throw a new error saying failed to create bookmark. Otherwise, we're going to make the bookmark, so we're going to say new bookmark is equal to await response.json, and we're going to say set bookmarks, and then previous, and then we're going to append the new bookmark into this list. But we're actually going to do it first so that it shows up in the most recent order. Okay, so that's setting the bookmarks, and then we can return the new bookmark like that. All right, now if there is an error, what we're going to say is const error message is equal to error instance of error, show error message, otherwise we show an error occurred. And then we can say set error, so let's do this here. And that should be good for that function. Okay, so that is adding the bookmark, that function is good. Now we're going to do deleting the bookmark. So we're going to say const delete bookmark is equal to async. We're going to take in the ID of the bookmark. Okay. What we're going to do here is we're going to say try, same thing, set error to null. We're going to say const response is equal to await fetch. We're going to fetch /API /bookmarks /, and we're actually going to make these backticks so that we can embed inside of here the ID because it's a path parameter. So we're going to embed the ID, and then we're simply going to say that the method is equal to delete because that's what we need to do in order to delete this. Same thing, we're going to say if not response okay, then what we want to do is throw a new error saying failed to delete the bookmark. Then we can say set bookmarks, and it already knows what we want. We're going to do a quick filter. We're going to get the previous. We're going to say previous.filter, and then we're just going to make sure that we only get the bookmark that wasn't the one that we deleted, or only get the bookmarks, sorry, that weren't the one that we just deleted. Then we're going to say catch on error, and same thing as this. We're just going to copy this, paste this here, and that's how we delete a bookmark. Okay, so that's it. Now we just need to return all of this from the hook. So we're just going to return the bookmarks. We're going to say loading error. We're going to say add bookmark, delete bookmark, and then we're going to say refetch. And this is going to be the fetch bookmarks in case we need to refetch it. Okay, so that's it for the hook. Now we kind of have all of the operations connected to the backend, and we just need to call this hook or use this hook from our front-end components. So page now is what we need to modify. So we're going to get rid of use bookmark here, close that out, close layout, and now we're going to go into page, which is where we're going to have kind of the home page and then render all of our different components. All right, so let's remove this image because we don't need that from here, and let's essentially just clear everything out from page because we don't need anything, and then we'll write this from scratch. Okay. So we're going to import the styles, but before that, we're going to make this a use client because we're going to have some forms on this page. We're then going to say import like this, and we're going to import use state from React. We are then going to import the signed in and the signed out component from, and then this is going to be at Clerk /Next.js. We're then going to import the, let's spell this correctly, use bookmarks from at hooks /use bookmarks. We're going to import the types. So we actually just care about the create bookmark data type from our types. And for now, that's it. And then get rid of this. We don't need that. Okay. So now we have our home component. Inside of our home component, we're going to use the hook. So we're going to say const, and then this is going to be bookmarks, loading, error, add bookmark, as you can see, delete bookmark, and refetch. Okay, so let's take this here, refetch, let's spell delete bookmark correctly. That's going to be equal to the use bookmarks hook. And let's just quickly format that. I need to just put something in here, okay, so that we can format it. And you can see now we're getting that from our hook. Okay, now we're going to have a few pieces of state. So we're going to say const, and we're going to say show add form, okay, and then set show add form, because we're going to have a form that allows us to add a new bookmark. By default, that's going to be false. We're then going to have const is submitting, set is submitting is equal to use states, and then again, that's going to be false. And we're going to spell submitting correctly and false correctly as well. Okay. Now we just need to write a few functions that can handle things like adding the bookmark, deleting the bookmark, loading, etc., as well as the rest of the UI page. So let's start with the functions, then we can write kind of what's returned from the component. So let's start with const. This is going to be handle add bookmark. Again, the AI is so good, it knows exactly what I want. We're going to say async data create bookmark data. Inside of here, we're going to write the function body. We're going to say try. And this is going to be set is submitting to true. We're going to say await, add bookmark. We're going to pass our data. We're going to say set show add form false. So after we submit it, we don't want to show the form anymore. We're going to catch any errors. Okay, and then we can just say console.log and then, failed to add bookmark, and we can show whatever the error is. And then we can say finally set is submitting to false. Okay, so that's how we add a bookmark. Now we're going to do the deleting of a bookmark. So we're going to say const handle delete bookmark equals async id string. Okay, then we're going to say if, and we're just going to put a quick confirm box. We're going to say, are you sure you want to delete this bookmark? Okay, if they are sure that they do want to delete this, then what we can do is we can say try, and then we can say await delete bookmark, and we can pass our ID, and then we can catch the error, and same thing. We can just console.log failed to delete the bookmark. All right, so that's it for now for adding the bookmark and deleting the bookmark. Let's add a quick loading state as well. So we're going to say if loading, so if we're waiting to fetch our bookmarks, then what we can do is return a quick loading state. So we can return a div. We can say the class name is equal to, and this is going to be styles, and then loading dash container. Then we can have another div with class name equal to, and this is going to be styles loading dash content. Then we're going to have another div. This div is going to have class name equal to styles, and this is loading dash spinner. So it's going to be the spinning icon for us. And then we're going to have a quick paragraph tag, and we're just going to say loading bookmarks dot dot dot. Okay, so that's our loading state. And now we need to do kind of the main state of the page. All right, so first thing, let's change the fragment here to be a div. Inside of the div, we're going to have signed in and signed out. So if you're signed in, we're going to show you a form. If you are signed out, then we're just going to tell you that you need to sign in. And then we're going to have signed out here like that. Okay, so if you're signed in, we'll show you all of your bookmarks and the ability to add a bookmark. If not, then of course you need to sign in order to do that. So let's handle the signed out part first. So we're going to have a div. Class name is equal to, and same thing, this is going to be styles, and this is the sign out dash container. Okay, then another div, same thing, class name equal to, and this is going to be styles, and then sign out dash content. And then we're going to have a paragraph tag inside of this one. Paragraph tag is going to say class name equal to, again, styles, and this is going to be the sign out dash text, and we're going to say please sign in to manage your bookmarks. Okay, and then that's pretty much all that we need there for signed out. Okay, now we can go to sign in. For sign in, we want to display a form and a few components that we haven't written yet, but at least this will be a good start. So we're going to say div class name. The class name here is going to be container. Then we're going to have another div. This is going to be class name equal to, and we're going to say styles, and then this is going to be the page dash header. Then we're going to have another div. This is going to be class name equal to styles, and then header dash content. Then we're going to have another div, class name equal to styles, and then this is going to be the header dash text. Okay, and then we're going to put h1, and we're going to say bookmark manager, just so we have kind of like a nice pretty title at the top of the page. We're going to put a paragraph tag. Okay, so let's add this, and we're going to say, organize and manage your bookmarks. That's fine. Okay, and then let's fix the indentation. That's not what I wanted to do there. And we're going to add another div just below this. The div is going to say class name equal to, and this is going to be styles, and then header dash button. And then what we're going to do is put a button. For the button, we're going to have class name equal to btn dash primary. And then we're going to have on click equal to a function. And this function is going to call set show add form to true. And then this is going to say add bookmark like that. And actually, we're going to do this dynamically. So sorry, let me fix this. We're going to say show add form question mark cancel otherwise add bookmark. And we're going to change this to say not set show add form or not show add form. Okay, so essentially what we're doing is we're having a toggle button here where we're saying, all right, if you want to, if the form is currently being shown, then you can press the cancel button and get out of it. If it's not, then you can press this button and we'll show the form by adding a new bookmark or by pressing this button. That's what this is doing right here. I'm just creating a simple header component. So we have a nice title and then a button to add a new bookmark. Okay, we are almost done here. 2 more things I need to add. So first I'm going to add an error component. So I'm going to say error and then what I'm going to do here is have a div. So if there's an error, then we'll show the error. We're going to say class name is equal to styles error dash message. Okay, then inside of here, we're going to have a paragraph tag. We're going to say error, and we're just going to display what the error is. Then we're going to have a button, and this button will just let you reset the error. So we're going to say on click is equal to refetch. So this is going to be retry. And we're going to say class name is equal to btn dash primary, or actually dash secondary. And then inside of this button, we're just going to say retry. Okay, and let's just format all of this so we can read it. So we have the error state kind of handled. And then what we need to do is we need to be able to show a form for the kind of ability to add a bookmark and to display a bookmark. Now, those are some other components that we'll need to write in a second. But for now, we can just stub it. So we can say show add form and we can show a div. This div can have a class name equal to styles and then form dash section. Okay, and then later here, we'll populate this div with the correct component to show kind of the add form. All right, so we have this page component. This will let us essentially view the bookmarks, handle the form, etc. Now, in order for this to work, we're going to have to write a little bit more code because we have to display the form, which we haven't written yet, and we have to display the bookmarks. So we're going to write a quick component that will let us do that. But for now, let's run this and see if it works because we've written a lot of code. So we're going to type npm run dev. It's going to take a second here. Hopefully it's going to work. We can go to our front end. So let's just go to localhost port 3000. And you can see that we have a sign in button and a sign up button. It says, please sign in to manage your bookmarks. If I press sign in, it should bring me to the Clerk page. So you can see it's here. And then I can sign in with my account. Or if I don't have one, I can sign up. So I'm going to sign up with a new account and I'll be right back. And you can see now I've signed in. I have this Clerk button that I can press on where I can manage my account or I can sign out. Let's make sure we blur my email, please, editors. And then we have Bookmark Manager, Organize and Manage your bookmarks, and then the ability to add a bookmark. And you can see it kind of toggles between add and cancel. Okay, so for me right now, that is pretty good. If we sign out, so let's do that quickly. You'll see that it brings us back to this page. And then we can sign in again. Let's do that. Again, please blur my email editors. Let's sign in. And you see that it loads and it brings us back here. Okay, so now we just need the ability to actually add the bookmarks and view them. So let's start with the add bookmark form. In order to do that, let's go to our components folder. And let's make some new files for these components. So we'll start with the bookmark form.ts. Inside of here, we're going to write the form. So this is going to be use client because it's going to use React state. We're going to say import use state from React. We're going to say import create bookmark data from our types. We're going to make an interface for the props. So we're going to say interface bookmark form props. Okay, this is going to be equal to the following. It's going to say on submit, and then we're going to take in data, which is the create bookmark form, and this is going to return void. We're going to say the initial data question mark, and this is going to be a partial of create bookmark data. We're going to say is editing. Okay, and this is going to be again a question mark and then Boolean, and then we're going to have is submitting, and this will be a Boolean as well. Okay, now we have the props. So we're going to say export default function in lowercase. This is going to be the bookmark form. We're going to take in the on submit, the initial data is editing equal to false, and then this is going to be is submitting equal to false as well. We're going to take from the props. Okay, so that is formatted. Now we're going to go const form data. We're going to say set form data is equal to use state, and this is going to be the create bookmark form data. Then we are going to have the following. We're going to say URL colon, and then this is going to be the initial data dot URL or an empty string. We're going to have the title, same thing, and then the notes, same thing, and that's all we need for our form data. Okay, we're then going to have const handle submit. Okay, for this, we're going to take in E. This is going to be of type React form event. We're going to have a function. Here, we're going to say e.prevent default so it doesn't refresh the page. Then we're going to say if not form.url.trim or not form.title.trim, or is submitting. Okay, so if any of this is true, so if you don't have a URL, you don't have a title, or we are currently submitting, then we are simply going to return. We're not going to let them submit the form. Otherwise, we're going to call the onSubmit function with the form data. And we're going to say if we're not editing the form, then what we're going to do is say set form data. And we're going to set the form data. So we have an empty URL and empty title and empty notes, like that. Okay, so that's going to handle the submit. Now the rest of it is just going to be essentially the actual form that we need to build. So what we're going to do is we're going to say return. Okay, now I want to return a form. Now I just realized that I need to rename this to be .tsx. So let's rename this to tsx so that this works, not just ts. Okay, so we're going to have a form. We're going to end the form tag. So let's do that. Inside of the form, we're going to have the on submit equal to handle submit. Then we're going to have class name equal to form. Okay, then we're going to have an h2. In the h2, we're just going to say the following. This is going to be class name equal to form dash title. And then we're going to have is editing question mark and then edit bookmark. Otherwise, we're going to say add new bookmark. And actually, this reminds me, at first I was going to make this form allow us to edit a bookmark as well, but now we're not going to do that. So I'm just going to remove all of this is editing stuff because we don't actually need this for this component. So let's just get rid of all of that. Okay, and then we can remove this and we can just say add new bookmark because this is just going to be for adding, not editing. Okay, that'll make it a little bit simpler. Now we're going to have a div. We're going to say class name is equal to form dash group. Inside of here, we're going to have a label. This is going to say HTML4, and this is going to be URL. And then class name is equal to form dash label. Here, we're going to have URL and an asterisk. Then we're going to have the input field. Okay, the input field is going to have a lot of props. We're going to say type is equal to URL. ID is equal to URL. On change is equal to E. And then this is going to be set form data. We're going to say .prev. We need 3 dots here. And then we're going to say URL is e.target.value. And then we need prev here like that when we set this, and then put this inside of parentheses. Okay, so that's going to be the on change. We're going to have class name equal to form-input. We're going to have the placeholder equal to https://example.com. We're going to have required, which is true. And we're going to say disabled is equal to is submitting. So you cannot do anything here if you are currently submitting. All right, so again, this form is for adding a new bookmark. So to add a new bookmark, we're going to have a URL, we're going to have a title, and we're going to have some notes. So we'll just copy this form group and paste it again, and then modify this now for the title. So we're going to say URL for title. We're going to change this just to say title, and then pretty much everywhere, we're going to go type text ID title rather than URL. We're going to call that title. And for the placeholder, we can just go something like enter title. Okay, that should be it. Now, same thing, we can copy this and do the same thing for notes. So we're going to change this to be notes. For the placeholder, we'll say enter any notes. We'll change this to say notes. We'll change this to say notes. And then same thing, notes without the asterisk because this is optional. All right, so that's our form groups. Now we're going to have the submit button. So we're going to have button. We're going to say submit. We're going to say type is equal to submit. We're going to say class name is equal to btn dash primary. We're going to say disabled is equal to is submitting. For the button, we're going to say if we are submitting, then it's saying saving. Otherwise, it'll say save bookmark. Okay, that is the form. Let's make sure this is exported. It is. Okay, I'm just going to format that so we're all good. Now what we're going to do is use that inside of page.tsx. So from here, we're going to say import the bookmark form from our bookmark form. And then what we can do is we can go here to where we're going to show the form, and we can render that. So we're going to say bookmark form on submit as handle add bookmark is submitting is submitting. Okay, and then let's save that. And I think we should be good to go here. Okay, now we are very close to finish the UI. We can quickly test and see if this is working. By the way, we can just refresh, and you can see that when we press add bookmark now, we see this. I think the styling is a little bit messed up for some reason, so I probably forgot to add a style tag somewhere. I typed it wrong. You can see it is toggling it. When you press it, it makes sure that we makes sure that we fill in this field. We could test that later, but for now, actually, you know what? Let's test it right now. Let's go enter title, tech with Tim website. Okay, let's go best site and say bookmark. Okay, I think it worked. I mean, it's just not showing it right now. And then if we go to Prisma Studio here, we can see bookmarks, and the bookmark was added. All right, so that's working. Now we need to display the bookmarks. So I'm going to make two new components. The first component I'm going to make is the bookmark card.tsx, and then I'm going to make the bookmark list.tsx as well. Okay, so for the card, let's go ahead and do that. We're going to say use client. I'm going to say import the bookmark type from @types/bookmark. I'm going to make a quick interface and say this is the bookmark card props. Inside of here, I'm going to say bookmark like that. I'm going to say on delete, and this is going to be ID :string. Okay, and then that's going to return to void. Okay, then we're going to say export default function bookmark card. This is going to take in the bookmark, and on delete from the props. Inside of here, we're going to add a few kind of validation functions, as well as just what the bookmark is going to look like essentially on our UI. So we're first going to say const format date, so we can show the date that this was actually, added at. So we're going to say date like that. And then what we're going to do is say return new date. We're going to take in the date. We're going to say .to local date string. What this is going to do is give us a local string based on our time zone. We're going to say en-us. And then we're going to do the following. We're going to say year is numeric. We're going to say month is short. Okay, let's spell that correctly. And we're going to say day is numeric. Okay, so that's going to format a date for us, and we'll make sure we're returning that. Then we're going to say const get domain. What this is going to do is actually create a domain from a string so we can open it up in the browser. So we're going to say URL string. And then what we're going to do is try the following. So we're going to try const domain equals new URL. This has to be all capitals. And then we're going to say URL dot hostname. Okay. Then we're going to return the domain dot replace. And then we're going to replace www dot with simply an empty string. So just get rid of that. And then we're going to have a catch error. And we're just going to return invalid URL. Again, this is so we can kind of press on this and actually open it up. Then what we're going to do is we're going to say return, and we're going to return a div. Now inside of the div, we're going to say the class name is equal to the bookmark dash card. Okay, then we're going to have another div, and we're going to say the class name is equal to bookmark dash actions. Then we're going to have a button. For the button, we're actually going to put a trash emoji. So let me find one here. So we're going to put trash like that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to say on click is equal to, and we're going to say on delete, and we're going to pass the bookmark.id like that. Okay, then we're going to have the class name, and the class name is going to be action btn delete, and then we're going to have title is equal to delete bookmark. Okay, and let me just format that there. All right, so now we have the button. This is going to kind of be at the top. So we're going to have like a little top area where we'll have a button that allows us to delete it. Then we're going to have an H3. This is going to be class name equal to bookmark dash title. And then we're going to put the title of the bookmark. Then we're going to put our link. So we're going to say href is equal to bookmark dot URL. We're going to say a target equals underscore blank. This means we're going to open it in a new page or a new tab. And we're going to say rel is equal to no opener, no refer. And then we're going to say class name is equal to bookmark dash URL. And then you guessed it, we're going to put the bookmark dot URL. Okay. Then we're going to put a paragraph tag here, and we're going to say class name is equal to the bookmark dash meta. Now here we're going to get the get domain bookmark URL, and then we're going to do a dash and then format date bookmark dot created at. Now actually, sorry, I lied. The get domain is so we're just going to show the host name or the main domain, and it's potentially invalid. So that's why it could be an invalid URL. Otherwise, it could be valid as we're going to render the URL as you see here. Okay, and then lastly, we're going to say if we have bookmark.notes. So if there are any notes, what we're going to do is the following. We're going to have a div. We're going to say class name is equal to, and this is going to be notes dash section. We're going to end the div. Inside of the div, we're going to have a paragraph tag. The paragraph tag is going to be class name equal to notes dash content. And then we're going to have the bookmark dot notes. Cool. And then let's format that. And that is our bookmark card. All right, we are almost done. The last thing we need to do is the bookmark list. So this is the component that's going to list all of our bookmarks. It's going to be a lot shorter. Then the entire UI is done, and we can move on to the MCP server. So we're going to say use client. We're going to import the bookmark from same thing, our types. We're also going to import the bookmark card that we just wrote from that component. We're going to say interface, and this is going to be the bookmark list props. Okay, we're going to say bookmarks, and this is going to be bookmark like that. And then we're going to say on delete, and we're going to take in the ID, the string, and then void. Okay, then we're going to say export default function bookmark list. We're going to take in the bookmarks, the on delete from the bookmark list props. Now what we're going to do first is we're going to say if we don't have any bookmarks, so if the bookmarks.length is equal to 0, so if there's none in our list, then we're just going to return a simple UI that essentially tells them, hey, you don't have any bookmarks. So we're going to say return div, class name, this is going to be empty dash state. Then we're going to return another div, and this is going to be class name. We're going to say empty dash icon. I'm going to put in here a book. So I'm going to say book, and I'll just put this one like that. Then we can have another div, and this div is going to say, or actually, rather than a div, let's change it to an h3. And for the h3, we're going to say no bookmarks yet. Okay. And then let's add a paragraph tag, and let's go class name is equal to empty dash text. And we're going to say add your first bookmark to get started, and that's going to be the empty container. Now let's do another one here. So if we are not empty, then we need to show the bookmarks. So we're going to have a div. We're going to say class name, and this needs to be, what is it? Inside of the correct thing. So outside of that. Okay, boom. So there we go. And then we're going to say bookmark dash grid. Then what we're going to do is say bookmarks dot map, and we're going to map our bookmark to its page. Well, we're going to return a component. So the component we're going to return is the bookmark card. We're going to say key is equal to bookmark.id. We're going to say bookmark is equal to bookmark, and we're going to say on delete is equal to on delete. We're going to format that, and that should be, I think, everything that we need. So we have a div, and actually I'm just going to wrap this in one more div. Okay, so we're just going to have an empty div wrapping around this. Again, save and format, and now we are good. Okay, so we have the bookmark list. If it's empty, we render this. If it's not empty, we show a simple grid with all of the bookmarks mapped out here. Now let's render that component from our page. So we're going to say import the bookmark list from what we just wrote. And then of course we need to now hook this up. So let's go into page and let's write that. So we're going to go inside of signed in underneath the form, and we're going to say bookmark list. We're going to show the bookmark list. We're going to pass our bookmarks equal to bookmarks, and we're going to pass on delete equal to handle delete bookmark. And we're going to format that. And now we are good to go. All right, so that should be the entire UI. I think it's still running. It looks like it is. So if we go here and we refresh, you can see that it's showing our bookmark. Again, the padding is a little bit messed up, so I'm probably just missing a CSS class, but you can see that it shows up here. Now, if I add another bookmark, let's go this one, AI voice gen, whatever. Let's see, voice gen, and save the bookmark. Oh, it's making me do notes. Okay, I can remove that, but let's say for AI voice gen, and we save that, then you can see it shows up here. And then obviously if we signed in with another account, we wouldn't see it, and you can see it showing us the root domain rather than the kind of slash page, which is how I had this set up, as well as the formatted date for when it was added. And let's try to delete. So if I press this, want to delete, okay, and then you see that it removes the bookmark for us. Okay, so our UI is functioning now. We know that it works. We just tested it. All the features are here. Again, we can kind of ignore the CSS for right now. And now it's time to move on to the next part, which is setting up the MCP server. So let me show you how we do that. Okay, so as I promised, we're going to add the MCP server, and I'm just going to follow this documentation here that comes directly from Clerk. I'll link this in the description in case you want to follow along with it, and you'll see like that's kind of how I figured out how to do this. Now, essentially, we already installed the packages that we need, and you're going to see that it starts showing us what we need to create in terms of adding the MCP server. Now, in short, to do this, it involves adding 3 separate routes to our API. So 1 for transport, and then 2 for, if we keep going here, let me find this, the OAuth authorization server and the OAuth protected resource. You don't have to worry too much about these, but essentially they're required for the OAuth flow, as was described here. So you can see that it kind of like, we have to go back and forth. We have to have these particular endpoints. So Clerk is showing us how to add those. Now, in order for any of this to work, first of all, we do need to go to our Clerk dashboard. Now, from our Clerk dashboard in our project, we need to configure a few things. Now, first of all, there's a lot of stuff that you can do here, right? So you can make like custom UI components, deploy your application. You can have like user management, organizations, etc. I'm just going to go to configure my application here. And first of all, again, like there's all these settings that we can mess with that you can go through. Like, do you want them to sign up with a phone? Do you want to use a username? Do you want to add usernames to an existing account? Do you want to have passkeys? So all of this is handled by Clerk, which is really, really nice. And of course, for the MCP server, it makes it quite easy as well. But we need to go all the way down here. We need to find OAuth applications. And from here, we need to just check this box that says dynamic client registration, acknowledge this, and enable it. This allows, and I got to save that here, our MCP clients or MCP hosts to actually connect to the MCP server and register themselves without us having to do it manually, like you would have to create a manual application here. Okay, so this just means essentially any AI tool can connect to our MCP server and use it. All right, that's pretty much all the settings we need to do in Clerk. Again, I just want to make you aware there's so much stuff in here, which is why I personally love Clerk and why I use them for pretty much all of my projects for authentication. You saw how easy it was to add in this particular project, and now you'll see it with the MCP server. Okay, so let's take these docs, let's put it on the right side of our screen, and let's open up this on the left side. So let's put that here, make it a little bit smaller. Okay, let's close some of this stuff because we have a lot of things open. And let's start setting up our routes. So again, if I'm following along with this, first thing we need to make this app/transport. So we're going to close everything here. We're going to make sure we're in our app directory. We're going to make a new folder, and in square brackets, we're going to call it transport. Okay, now inside of here, we're going to make a root.ts, and we're just going to copy the code. Again, I will link it in the description. Now, as we keep going here, it's going to show us how to create an MCP tool. Now, we can create a tool. We also can create resources or prompts. Again, I'm not going to cover in depth exactly how the MCP servers work, but the point is that you can have all of these tools on the MCP server, which you can expose to an AI host, something like Cursor. It can then call those tools and use them. In our case, there's two tools that we want to provide. We want one for getting a user's bookmarks and for creating a new bookmark. So while this is giving us an example of a tool right here, this is not actually the tool that we want. We want to make our own tool. So I will copy this, but I'm going to modify it, and I'm going to start creating the tool that we need. So let's make this smaller. Okay, and let's write our first tool. So rather than getting the Clerk user data, that's what this is showing us how to do essentially. You can await the authorization, get the Clerk user data. What we want to do is different. So first, we're going to change the name here. Rather than get Clerk user data, we're going to say get user bookmarks. Okay, and then for the description, we're going to say get all bookmarks for the authenticated user. Obviously, make sure you write a good name and a good description, because this is how the LLM will know what tool to call. Then we're going to import a few things that we need here. So we're going to import, first of all, the get user bookmarks, okay, from our lib. That's why we put it in the lib, so it's reusable. We're also going to get the create user bookmark from there. We don't need delete. We're not going to add that as a tool right now, although we could if we wanted to. And then we're going to import, and this is going to be the create bookmark data from our types, and we're going to import Z from Zod. Okay, this is going to allow us to do some more advanced documentation for another tool that we write in a second. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to clear out some of this stuff here. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to copy my user ID, and I'm going to put a try catch block here. So we're going to say try catch like that. Now in the try, we're going to get the user's ID. Okay, so authinfo.extra.userid. Then we're going to get the bookmarks. I didn't even mean to do that, but the AI automatically did it for me. So we're going to say bookmarks equal to await get user bookmarks. And then we're going to return, and we're going to return a type that says content. There's going to be a list. We're going to say type is text, and the text is going to be JSON.stringify the bookmarks. Okay, so we need to always return stuff as text, or at least that's how we're going to be returning it here. So we're going to get the object, which is the user bookmarks. We're going to turn it into a JSON string, and we're going to return that from our MCP tool. Now we're just going to copy this as well, and we're going to put this down here in the catch, and we're going to catch an error. The type will be text, and then for the text here, we're going to say in backticks, error like this, and then we're just going to show what the error message is. Okay, so this is pretty much how you make a tool. right? You put the name of the tool, you put the description. Here, you put any parameters that need to be passed to the tool. I'm going to show you an example when we make another tool in just 1 second. And then you write the tool body. So it's an async function, right? We get our authentication info. We can check here the user's ID. We can use the user's ID to get their bookmark, and we can return it. However, this handler only works if we actually have this auth handler down here. So we're going to copy the rest of the code from the documentation. We're going to paste it in this file. And you'll see now that we're exporting auth handler as get, auth handler as post. So if a get or a post endpoint are sent to this route here, then automatically it's going to go into this function. What it's going to do is it's going to get the authorization token from Clerk. It's going to verify the token and make sure it's valid. And then it's going to also provide this OAuth protected resources path if we don't pass the correct authorization token. You don't have to worry too much about this, but essentially we're going to forward all of the routes into this function. It's just going to make sure that we're authenticated. If we are authenticated, it's then going to go into this handler. It's going to call the correct MCP tool as is required. It's going to pass the authorization info, and then we can use that to get the user that's actually using our MCP server. Okay. So that's a start here. That's one tool, but I just want to write the other tool. The way we do that is we put a comma kind of after this server tool, and then we can write the other one like this. So we can say server tool, and the next tool I'm going to do is the one for creating a bookmark. So I'm going to say create dash bookmark, and then I'm going to write a description, and the description is going to say create a new bookmark for an authenticated user. Okay, let's spell that correctly, and let me just make this a bit larger for now. We can open the docs after. Okay, this will be fine actually. Let's just fix the spelling as soon as we add this next parameter. Now this next parameter is the parameters or the values that need to be passed to this tool. So what we're going to have is a URL. So we're going to say URL is z.string, okay, and then .describe, so we can describe all of these values. And I'm going to say this is the URL of the bookmark to create. And then you see we have two more. So we have title and we have notes. So we're going to pass a title and we're going to pass a notes. And for the notes, this is optional. So I'm going to say .optional like that. Oh, and it already was optional, but either way, we can do it before. Okay, now again, essentially, we're just using this Zod tool to do the documentation to say, hey, like these are the things that need to be passed. Now, when you're making the MCP server, you need to make sure that you document these correctly and that you have the correct descriptions. If you don't have the correct descriptions, then the LLM isn't going to know how to call it. Regardless, we also want to get the user's ID here because we're going to create a new bookmark for them. So we're going to have our try statement. We're going to go in here. We're going to have our catch statement with an error. Okay. We're going to get the user's ID. Then what we're going to do is we're going to create the bookmark data. So we're going to say const bookmark data is of type create bookmark data. Inside of here, we're going to specify the value. So we're going to say URL is args.url. We're going to say that the title is args.title. And we're going to say that the notes is args.notes or just an empty string in case it's not passed. Then we're going to say const new bookmark is equal to await. Create user bookmark, we'll pass the user ID and the bookmark data, and then we can return. So we're going to say return, and then same thing, we're going to say content, type text, json.stringify, the new bookmark. Okay, and that should be good. Now we also can put some backticks if we want to make this a little bit better. So let's go backticks. We're going to say created new bookmark, and then we're going to say colon. We're going to do $. We're going to embed the variable here and then close the backtick like that. And I think that's good. Yes, looks good. Okay, and then for the error, we can just copy the same one that we had here and put it like that. And now the error is handled. So now we have two tools, one for creating a bookmark, one for getting bookmarks. And if you wanted to make new tools, well, it's very easy to do that. You just write another tool in this list. Again, give it a name, give it a description, write any of the parameters here and document what type they are as well as the description. And then automatically the MCP server will be able to pick up these tools. Okay, and I realize we're also not using this Clerk client, so I'm just going to remove that for now, and we'll just have this auth function. Okay, so that's it in terms of the main MCP server route. This is where we define the tools. And again, if you want to add more tools, you would add them here. And Clerk is automatically doing the handling with our auth. And I'm just going to format this so it's a little bit nicer. Okay, so that's working. However, in order for us to actually get our authorization token, we need to expose our MCP metadata endpoints. Like I was showing you in this OAuth flow, there's particular endpoints that the MCP client is going to attempt to hit in order to receive the OAuth flow instructions. So we need to implement those on our server. One of them is kind of the current one of them is the older standard, but we're just going to implement both of them to make sure that no matter what client we use, it will be able to understand how to authenticate with our server. So in order to do that, it gives us some instructions here. Again, let's split this over to the left. We need to make a new folder inside of app, and we need to call this .well-known. Make sure you type this exactly, otherwise it's not going to work. Then we need to make two new folders. One is going to be the authorization -server. And another, let's make this a little bit larger, is going to be the OAuth. And then this is going to be -protected -resource. Okay. And you can see those here, right? It's showing you the names. So the paths, that's where I'm getting them from. And then inside both of these, we're going to make a new file called route.ts. And then same thing, route here, if we spell this correctly, .ts. Now, all we're going to do is literally just copy the code that's here. So for OAuth authorization server, we're going to paste that inside of that file. We'll look at it larger in a second. And for the protected resource, same thing. We're just going to copy this and put it in protected resource. Looks like I put it in the wrong file. So let's paste it in the correct file. Okay, copy that, paste that here. Copy this. Let's go in the other file, paste that here. Okay, and let's have a look at them and I can explain what's going on. All right, so OAuth authorization server, essentially what this is going to do is it's just going to automatically return the correct authorization server for Clerk. You don't need to worry too much about it. It's already just implemented for us from the Clerk MCP tools. Same thing for the protected resource. In this case, we need to specify some scopes like the profile and the email, which the MCP client will be able to get access to. Again, don't worry too much about this. It's already implemented for us. We just need both of these routes so that we're able to actually perform the authorization essentially with the MCP server. Now that is literally it. So now that we have that, I'm going to show you how to add this as an MCP server inside of one of the clients, specifically in this case, Cursor. So from Cursor, you can open up the command palette with Control-Shift-P. You also can just open up the settings menu if you're able to navigate that. And what you want to do is type MCP. From here, we want to open the MCP settings. So from the MCP settings, what we're going to do is we're going to go to this little edit button. So it should say add new custom MCP server. So you can press that. And then we're going to add a new MCP server with a URL to our current kind of project URL, which is localhost port 3000/MCP. So let's say this was empty because yours is probably going to look like this. What you're going to do is you're going to write something like bookmark MCP or bookmark manager, whatever. Then you're going to go colon, and then you're going to go URL is equal to, and then http://localhost port 3000/MCP or wherever your server is running. It should be on port 3000, and then just make sure you append the /MCP. So now if we go here, let me just close this and rerun it. It should be good to go. And if I open up my MCP settings now, it should say needs login. So we can toggle it off and toggle it back on just to make sure that it's loading. When we do that, we should see a bunch of URLs hitting here. So it's compiling all of these routes, and you can see that it's looking at the OAuth protected resource as well as the OAuth authorization server, and it's getting all of these URLs. Tells us that we need to log in. So what we can do is go needs to log in, open this up. Okay, we're going to wait a second here. It's going to bring us to a Clerk page. Okay, we can modify this again. We're going to go allow, open Cursor. Here, we're just going to go don't ask me and go open. And then it should start loading the tools for us. You can see that we have the two tools, get user bookmark and create bookmark. And then if we go into our agent mode, we can say something like, let's go here. Can you tell me my current bookmarks? Okay, and let's see if it can get them. It's going to call this, okay, and you can see we have one bookmark. We're going to say add a new bookmark for the Rust docs or something. Okay, and it should be able to do that. Okay, and it's called this. And then if we go back to our UI here, let's go back and refresh. We should see that we now have two bookmarks showing up because we were interacting with the server. There you go, right? So we've got this functioning. And then of course, if we signed in with a different account, we would have a different set of bookmarks. So with that said and done, I mean, that's pretty much the entire project. I mean, we could test this again. Let's add another one. Let's go random URL. Okay, and we're going to say ngrok URL. Let's save it. Okay, and then if we go back here, what bookmarks do I have for ngrok? Okay, we can ask it a question. It should run the tool. And then wait a second. It says we have one bookmark, the one that we just added, and it shows us the URL. Perfect. So we've got this working, and the reason why this is so cool is because now we can build some type of application and we can expose the functionality on an MCP server, which means all of these AI or LLM-based tools can now use all of our user data and these tools in this tool, right? In this LLM or AI-based tool. So as application development continues to move more towards MCP, more towards AI using LLMs, this is going to become more and more important, and that's why I wanted to make the video on it and show it to you today. So with that said, guys, that wraps it up. That's everything. That's all we needed to create. I hope that you found this useful. If you did, please make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one.